October 17th, 2022. You're listening to Oblast with Don and Kevin. I'm Kevin.
And I am Don.
And we're back again this week. And
here we are.
Got some media stuff. There's a Clint story I think Don's going to tell us. And we'll save that for last because that'll always be, those are always fun. And so the weather's getting cold, right? We're in the middle of October here, and it's supposed to get down to about 32 degrees as a low this week.
Yes.
So it's, for those of you on the metric system, that's freezing at 32. So, it's getting there. But that's just a low, and then it'll probably get warm again on the weekend. So it's just that usual time of year where it's up and down.
2 weeks people will be wearing shorts and stuff, being like Indian fall or whatever. Yeah. Indian summer. Yeah. Or what are they going to call it now? They can't call it Indian. They're going to call it something else. Guardian Summer.
Guardian Summer. Indigenous Summer. All right. And so I went and saw that Smile movie a couple weeks ago. I forgot to mention it last week. And it was creepy. It was a creepy movie. It had this, good creep factor to it that I liked. I mean, I'm one of those people that I'm not trying to be like too cool for school, right? Like trying to be like, the movie didn't scare me or anything like that. I'm not one of those people. Like some jump scares get me, startle me. I get startled like anybody. So some things are just the way they're filmed. They remind me of things when I was a kid, so like, there's a part in the movie where the girl's like sitting in the bed and like she's, hearing in the other room, they're like, it's like, Tracy, come here, that kind of thing. And, as a kid, that's the kind of thing that would freak you out, like you would think about stuff like that, or she's like looking in the corner, like in the shadows by the curtains, and there's just like this face smiling at her, and it's like, those are the things that, right. Those are the things that, as a kid, it would freak me out. And as an adult, I still find them to be kind of freaky because, you think to yourself, there's no such things as ghosts and monsters and things. But I mean, who really knows?
Yeah. The thing is when you finally figure out the truth, right, you're usually about 2 seconds away from them killing you. So
yes, right.
You're like, oh my God, I guess they were real.
Right. What if they come through a dimension? Maybe they do exist and they just come at you like you just said at the end.
I think of monsters and ghosts like wearing a master and cove, and I'm like, you know what? I don't know if it's true or not, but I'm not taking the chance. I'll just be over here. Right. You know what I mean? I will run at the sound of a stick breaking.
Yeah,
I don't care.
I've seen too many freaky things. Movies and things. They ain't going to do with it.
I was going to say, if anybody is like, "Oh, Kevin, it's full of crap," I can verify because we went and we saw The Exorcist 3 in the theater, and when that dude came out of that doorway through the hallway and like,
oh my God,
got her,
that scene's great. Yeah,
we both cried. We both jumped out of our seats. We were both like, we started laughing at each other because we were crying. We're just like, oh my God, it scared the hell out of us.
Yeah, that was creepy stuff. I mean, you have to go, like, that's the other thing too. Like when you watch a horror movie in general, talking to people out there, like seeing it in the theater is good because it's dark. The sound typically is pretty loud. So it can jostle you, and you're sort of concentrating on it. People, they don't go to the theater to see the movie. They see the movie at home on their TV. All the lights are on. The sound is low. The kids are there playing. People are walking by. They're looking at their phones. They're not paying attention. And then they're just like, that movie wasn't scary. It sucked.
Right.
And it's just like, dude, I can't argue with you because of the way you watched it. Yeah, it's going to be fucking terrible, Like, movies, you got to watch them. And listen, I'm not saying you have to do it that way. You can watch a scary movie at home if the volume's up, if it's dark, if you're concentrating on it, you're not doing other things. Of course, make it like a theater type of environment, and it'll totally work. You can even do it on your phone, You can, turn it sideways, be in the dark, have it close enough to your face. It looks like a big screen anyway. And, you can get the same effect, but, people just don't do that. Everybody's just so used to the Netflix way of just throwing something on and then making dinner and going, wiping their ass and stuff and coming in and catching like 20 minutes of an hour show. And, it's like the binge watching thing. Like people binge watch shows It's like, did you really spend 8 hours just sitting there watching that show and not moving? I mean, I know there's some people that do, but no, most people that are binge watching, they're doing other things. You know what I mean? And then they're just kind of catching up between things. They're missing all sorts of stuff. It's just how it is.
You got a text message during that one scene where the guy said, you know what I mean? That'll happen. Like if I'm watching with my girlfriend, we'll be watching TV and somebody says something and she'll be staring at her phone or whatever.
Yeah.
And like 2 minutes later, they're like, they're doing something. She'll look up and she's like, did they ever go outside? And I'm like, yeah, they were standing outside 2 minutes ago. Like,
right.
Like,
yeah, I know.
So even people who are intently watching something always get distracted for a minute.
Right. No, that's true. So then I also went and saw this past week. I saw the new Halloween.
Go ahead. It's just the Smile movie. Did you give a final thing about this, or did you just say
it's good. It's so it's basically a I want to just also point out too that I don't sit there and worry about like character motives a lot of times in movies. Okay. Like the people in Poltergeist, people are like, they could just move out, they could just leave the house, Amityville Horror, same thing. Just leave. There's a monster. Just get out, like, I get it. But then you don't have a horror movie, exactly. There's nothing there. So it's like, if you sit around and think to yourself, what they're doing, what she's doing is dumb. I wouldn't have done it that way, or et cetera, et cetera. Yeah. Okay.
Everybody would have ran.
Yeah. The situation would have been different. I get it. It's not super intelligent, but it's not bad either. Like if you just let some of that go and just kind of ride with it, it's just, so basically, and this isn't really a spoiler, but if you're really worried about, I'm not going to spoil it, but if you're really worried about a little bit of a spoiler, just fast forward to like a couple minutes. But basically what happens is that there's a psychiatrist, female psychiatrist. She runs into this patient that comes to the hospital because she's kind of like at an emergency hospital kind of thing for psychiatric patients. I don't know where such a hospital exists, but maybe in New York or something where there's a lot of people. I don't know. And there's girls there, and she basically explains that she's being sort of taunted by a kind of presence or a demon or something, right? Ooh. And what it does is that it at times will possess somebody that she knows just suddenly, that's like with her, and it will smile at her with this grin, and it's really creepy. And then the demon then commits suicide, so it kills the person in a horrible way in front of her, and then eventually it is going to kill her. And of course then it goes to the psychiatrist, and then the psychiatrist is trying to figure out how to get rid of it. And so it's, but it's also like, so it's like that, right? So it's like the demon thing, but it's also like, there's some mental things going on too, right? Like while it's kind of working its way through her. So that's why she's hearing these voices and seeing these things and stuff that's going on. And it's, but it's just filmed really well. It's just filmed really well in a kind of a creepy way. It's like directed well like that, right? Like, yeah, you could tighten the story up, but it's a horror movie. You know what I mean? Like it's not, it doesn't have like a Spielberg budget or anything like that. it's, this guy, I think he made some YouTube type stuff, and then they gave him this film to do. And I don't know if they gave it to him, but there's something for you to do. Yeah, maybe he did it all himself. I don't know, but first real motion picture, it's pretty damn good. So I mean, I think and most of the reviews are pretty positive. There's most of them are pretty good. It's in like the high 70s, I think, last time I checked on Rotten Tomatoes. And again, it's just the people that don't like it, just find problems with like, the psychiatrist and why she, how it is like, you see this in a lot of horror movies. So it's not just this one to blame, right? Where like something's happening to somebody, right? And they go up to somebody they know, their boyfriend, their mom, the teacher, and they're trying to explain what's going on. you know?
Right.
But they always do the worst job possible explaining what's happening. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, you're like, I would not have said it like that, you know? I would have been like more serious. And so they're always just like, I don't know what's going on, but, you know, there's something coming at me and it's trying to kill me. And they're like, you sound crazy. There's nothing here. And it's like, you don't understand. And it's like, that's like the worst way to explain what's going on. You know what I mean? Like go into detail and explain what's you know, but they never do. It's always that way.
It's like, yeah, you're right. I don't understand. What are you trying to say? What are you telling me?
Yeah, just break it down for him, man. Go through it slow to explain it, you know, be serious. But no. So those sorts of things, you know, some people just get overly critical and they don't like that, or they, you know, the decisions that are made, you know, they think that they're dumb and stuff. But it's again, it's just meant to spook you, you know. It's
like you said, if they didn't do it, then there'd be no movie.
I mean, the Scooby Gang always runs from the ghost, right? That's chasing them. But in the end, they know that they're just going to take the ghost mask off, and it's going to be like, you know, the owner of the owner of the inn or something. That's going to be like, damn those kids! I would have got away with it too if it wasn't for those meddling kids. You know,
it's never a real ghost. It's a dude in a costume with like fluorescent paint. They're like, he's got glow in the dark paint.
Right. And they could have just like said when they was chasing him, just like, say, hey, listen, we know you're not a ghost. I mean, we've done this like 100 times.
Like, they're chasing. They're like literally running after him, and he's running away. They're like, none of them stopped and said, wait a minute. If he's a ghost, what's he running for?
Right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Scooby's. But yeah. So anyway. Yeah. So it was. So I enjoyed it, and Oz, even Oz. So I was with Oz, and I said to Oz, I said at the end, I said it was good. I said it stressed me out. And Oz says, yeah, man, it stressed me out too. And I was like, coming from Oz, that's pretty good because, you know, he doesn't get stressed out. But that movie just had that level of like intensity to it. And Joe was there too, but he's always he never gives you any ground. Like, you know, he won't tell you if he likes something or doesn't like something, or if he,
right.
You know,
he'll just yell mole. He's like, "What'd you think about it?" Mole.
Yeah, okay. He's just not going to give you anything. I mean, unless it's like something like, you know, like there's some 70s automobile in it that he used to own. You know, that's awesome, and then he'd be all into it. You know,
yeah. Did you hear that music? Did you hear the soundtrack?
So then I went and saw the new Halloween, which was not good. But let me clarify that. I'm not going to give any spoilers here. The scenes with Michael Myers, which is pretty much why you would go to a Halloween movie, right?
Right.
As to see him, like, you know, go on his rampage. Those parts were good, except for the very end. Those parts were good. And that's the part you go to. Unfortunately, those are like a fewer and far between in this. There's this weird sort of sub story about a neighborhood kid who gets into trouble and starts to become obsessed with sort of Michael Myers, kind of
story.
And there's also like this romance that kind of happens, and they, just like in the last one, they use Jamie Lee very sparingly. I understand she's old. Okay.
Right.
But I mean, they just had her making pies and knitting in this one until the last 10 minutes. And it just didn't line up with the way this trilogy was kind of put together, because in the first one, you know, of this 3-part arc, right? She's like in her house, armed to the teeth, electric doors, hidden basement, ready to fight Michael Myers, you know, to the end and all this sort of stuff, you know?
Right.
And then in the second one, she's barely in it. I mean, it's mostly about the town and how they react and their paranoia over Michael Myers, and then them all getting together and like beating on him at the end. It was stupid. I didn't really like it. So this one's a little bit better than the second one, but it kind of leaves you empty at the end. You're just kind of like, I've probably seen enough Michael Myers films at this point. I don't think I get it as well. Like, he'd be about 80 something years old now.
Right.
You know, Jamie Lee's super old too. And, you know, I mean, this particular branch of the storyline is kind of over. And we've seen Rob Zombies try to reintroduce it, but that guy sucks. It's a terrible director.
Worst.
And stupid wife is in everything he does. And boy, that second one was so fucking bad. I don't know.
I didn't know this shit. I'm surprised.
Stop giving that guy fucking movies to make. But if somebody else eventually came along and did it, but here's the thing I just wanted to say about the Halloween films is that nobody except Carpenter, who made the first one, gets it right or understands what it's really about, right? It's not about Michael Myers trying to kill Jamie Lee Curtis. It's not about Michael Myers. That's why in the credits in the first one, and probably the others, but who knows, he's referred to as the Shape because he's the shape of evil. And what it's about is that, Don, you're a parent, you send your kid out of your house to go play, go trick or treat, whatever it is. But your fear as an adult is that something bad might happen to your kid while your kid's gone. And that is what the shape of evil is. That is what it's coming to do. It's killing people on Halloween, and it's random and it's violent and it's, and it's evil, right? And that is what the story is, and it should be this thing of trying to hit those nerves. Parents worried about their kids, or the guy like me that's home alone, right? And then the murderer climbs quietly in a window and you don't know, and you're just watching TV like an idiot, and you get stabbed in the throat, all of that, those fears is what the original Halloween is all about. And, it's this backdrop. You have to have a story. So it's this backdrop of this blank mind of Michael Myers, just being taken by the shape of evil to commit these acts and then try and eventually kill his sister, and his sister, stops him. Or Donald Pleasance does, sort of.
Right.
But, then the rest of the movies going forward, maybe not the second one, but kind of, they all basically were, and of course not the third one, they all basically were just trying to get into the lore of Michael Myers. The fourth one and the fifth one, they were trying to be like, well, Michael Myers was involved with these doctors and they were into druidic magic. And, so now he's possessed with killing his sister because of this thing. It's nonsense. And then, Rob Zombie trying to be showing that he was this abused kid and that snapped,
a tortured kid.
Yeah, and lost his mind and everything. And it's it's just over focus on who Michael Myers. We don't care who Michael Myers is. Right. Nobody's having him over for dinner. He's it doesn't matter. He's not Jason Voorhees. We have Jason if we want a mindless abused kid re-killer or whatever you want to call him. That guy's there. We don't, Freddy Krueger, he had the whole weird backstory where the town folk burned him up in the, in his house or whatever. And you get that backstory. It's fine. But Myers was never really supposed to be about that, and I think that's why on the third one, Carpenter was like, okay, let's make a totally different movie. Let's make a totally different Halloween. Let's not go there. People are like, I want Michael Myers to come back. This movie's dumb, which it was kind of a weird movie. I mean, I like Halloween 3 it's fun to watch, but is it great? No, but it's okay for the time. But it was a little weird for people who were expecting Michael Myers to be in it. But I just think that if a real director, wanted to make something new with Michael Myers, they should just grab on to that the shape thing and touch on the fears that people have about, because think about America in general. like everybody watches all these serial killer documentaries, man. They're just
Right.
fucking on all the time, you know? There's just every channel's got, you know, murder shows. It's dead body TV all day long,
Yep.
you know, 24/7. Everyone's obsessed about it because everybody's a little bit worried about it, is really what it is. Everybody's watching it to try to figure out, like, is this shit going to happen to me? Because I don't want to end up in Dahmer's freezer. You know what I mean? Like,
right. They're like, I want the warning signs.
Right. What are the warning signs? What do these people do? Like, how do I protect myself? Like, everybody's trying to figure out how to avoid it, you know? And so it's like, those are the fears that you could prey on in a movie, you know, all of those things. And a lot of horror movies do it. They just drag it out, you know? It's just like, you know, the hitchhiker that gets picked up and then gets murdered, you know? And then they make a whole freaking movie just about that. And it's more like if you could just touch on the things around Halloween, you know, the spiked candy like they did in the second one where the kid's got the razor blade in his mouth, and the just all of those things that can happen during that time of year, you know, and yeah, that would just work. That's why they made a movie. Go ahead.
You know, Halloween wasn't about Michael Myers. The movie wasn't about Michael Myers because nobody was ever like, I wonder what he looks like. I wonder what like.
Right.
What is his story? You know, what was it like when he was a kid? You know, nobody cared about any of that. Nobody, you know, it was just.
How did he learn how to drive? No.
Yeah, you know, it's like, okay, everybody, here comes Michael Myers, and that's when everybody's like, okay, let's go. I want to see it. You know, that's nobody cares about the person.
Right. No, I mean exactly, and but
John
also,
Carpenter's.
Yeah, Carpenter also. If you go back and you ever watch the first one, or you've never seen it before. He, back in those days, just had a really great way of filming, like his camera angles, looking out of cars while they're driving, kind of like a guy that's going to snatch a kid. You know, it just has that kind of view out the car.
Gritty, grainy.
It's grainy. You know, he goes down the side of a house, you know, like people are laughing inside and he's creeping around the house. Like there's just, it's really great. I mean, there's a reason why it's rated as high as it is, and Roger Ebert and all those people said it was a masterpiece back in the day. It's because it is. It's really great. It's just been diluted over the years by fun but subpar sequels.
That's like you said, people who haven't seen it should see it.
Yeah.
And what you will witness is you'll witness a horror movie that actually scares you without really showing anything violent. Like there isn't a lot. I mean, there isn't a lot of blood and guts. There isn't, you know what I mean? There's like no guts or anything. It's not like he's, you know, hanging people from trees and gutting them and having their insides all over the front yard or nothing. Carpenter doesn't do any of that. Carpenter does all suspense. It's all like leaving it to your imagination, where in your head you're thinking to yourself, oh my God, they're fucked. You know what I mean? And you can see the progression throughout those films. You can see like where the first three, that's the kind of idea it was. That's the kind of the scenario it was. It was like a just an old school horror movie. Like, I don't have to show you these people dying because
and it's also,
you get the idea.
And in the first one, he's not, at this point in the first movie, he's not supernatural. He's just a guy killing you, you know, or killing people. And it is the same scenario that could enter into anyone's real life. You know what I mean? Like you might be sitting at home like these people were or whatever. And, you know, home invasions happen. They're rare as hell, but they do happen. And, you know, it's maybe not a guy in a mask, but maybe, who knows? You don't know. So, I mean, if you think about it and being in their shoes, it's like, yeah, it could be fucked up, man. Especially, back in the 70s. Guns weren't as prolific back then. So it was like, kitchen knives and things like that is what you had, basically. I mean, some people had guns, shotguns, and things like that. But, whatever.
But that just shows you the difference in people watching movies nowadays, because now they're just like, I need the blood and the guts and the gore and all this stuff, because Rob Zombie's Halloween is completely different. Same character, same kind of idea, same kind of, like, you know, he's using the base model of Halloween to make his own version of it. But some people will be like, oh, Rob Zombie's was so great because it was so bloody and it was so violent. It was so good. Okay, well, that's just you just
I
like
don't know
bloody
who's saying
violent
that.
movies.
I think it's just terrible. I think everybody.
There are people who actually say that movie's really good, and every time I hear that from anybody, I'm like, dude, when it first came out, I told Oz right off the bat. I said, dude, I went and saw the new Halloween last night. Garbage. He was like, no, you're crazy. That's not. It's a great movie. It's a great movie. But if you ask him now, he's like, yeah, it's not that good. It's pretty garbage.
Yeah, he changes his tune. He wants to like it, but he knows it's garbage. And the second one is, oh my God, is it so bad?
I wouldn't even go see it. I didn't want. I was just like, I saw the first one. It was just
horrible. I mean,
it's a Rob Zombie film. I don't like any of his movies. House of a Thousand Corpses.
It's like his wife talking to a horse.
What's the other one? House of a Thousand Corpses. Oh, Devil's Rejects. Like all that stuff.
Devil's Rejects is the only one that's tolerable, but it's still a lot of his wife.
It's just her jumping around, laughing and cackling at everybody, and just dumb.
It's not. He's not. I mean, the guy was in a band, and and I don't know. They were like, what happened was, this is what I think would happen with Rob Zombie. To be honest with you, and because I was around at the time. As were you, but I noted some things that were taking place with this. Was the fact that he was working on House of a Thousand Corpses, and people had heard about it. Now, first of all, if you've never seen it and you think of in your head, that sounds kind of like a gruesome title, right? Thousand Corpses, you know what I mean?
There wasn't,
right, in a house of 1,000 corpses. So, but you're thinking, that's going to be something, right? It's got a name, and but what had happened is that I forget which company, right? But a movie studio had contracted him to do it. He gave them the script or the draft or the first cut, whatever it was, and they came back and they said that's going to be a pass from us. And they a lot of people in the websites and things like that at the time took that to mean that it was too gruesome, it was too crazy, it was too much, and they were like, we can't release this is shocking, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so then eventually it comes out, but it had built this lore before it came out that Zombie was like making this freaking horror movie masterpiece kind of thing of a nightmarish vision, and then you didn't get that.
Summer.
You didn't get that at
from
all.
The mind of Rob Zombie.
And so, but I think that kind of hung on, and so then he starts making all of these various horror movies that aren't very good. And it's just like, dude, I mean, just do music, I mean, the thing is, he was in White Zombie, and White Zombie was good. And then like, he kind of decided he just wanted to be solo and ditch the band. His first album was all right. After that, I mean, my personal opinion, I know because there's a lot of people out there listening that you like Rob Zombie. I understand. But my personal opinion is after that first album, he's just copying himself at this point.
It's all the same.
Yeah, his originality is gone. And what he brought to the table, which was kind of interesting when White Zombie and everything was around, was into it. It just didn't, he didn't carry it forward. He became like the George Lucas type of thing. Like he just became more into himself, I think, and he still is. I mean, the guy just did The Monsters on Netflix, and I'm sure because everybody out of curiosity tuned in to watch it, that it probably got enough views that Netflix was like, you're a mastermind, Rob. You did a great job. Let's do it again. Let's do another one. Let's do Monsters 2.
Release this one.
He's like, you guys are too kind. I'm working on another album. It's like, oh, Jesus.
That's what I'm saying. It's like you want to tell him to stick to music, but then again, you're like, I don't really need another Rob Zombie album.
Maybe retire. I mean, he's a little older than us. I mean, he can retire now, can he? I mean, it's like,
not this Black Adam. Look at this commercial. Black Adam. Another DC film bound to fail.
Probably bound to fail. I mean, I like The Rock. I mean, I do. He's the guy. I would say he's 50-50 with movies. Some are garbage. Some are pretty good. But he could be a good superhero and everything, or a villain in this case. This is like, apparently this is part of he was supposed to be in another movie as the villain, and then they decided that well let's give him an origin story first because he's really interesting. I forget who he's fighting though. I forget who his nemesis is.
There's Hawkman and Dr. Fate.
No, it's somebody I think we've already been introduced to.
Superman.
No, not Superman. I don't think it's Aquaman. I don't remember though. But anyway, so he'll be back with that. Yeah. But anyway, speaking of, so this is kind of a spoiler, folks. We're going to talk about She-Hulk two episodes ago.
I haven't. Okay, because I
didn't watch the last. I mean, we're not talking about the most recent one.
Okay, good.
2 episodes ago. So if you're 2 weeks behind or you don't give a crap, then keep listening. If you missed it though, you can skip. Daredevil shows up, which we knew was going to happen at some point. What I thought was going to happen was he was going to make a cameo like he kind of did in
Spider-Ham.
Yeah, Spider-Man. And instead, he sticks around for the whole episode. He has a kind of a refreshed outfit. It's a little gold and red now, I guess, which
red and yellow,
which is fine.
This looks that's his original color outfit. Remember?
Yeah, I know. I do. It just is just a little weird.
It seems weird going backwards.
Yeah, exactly. But it's fine. And the direction was pretty good. I thought it was pretty good. It still had the comedy aspects that She-Hulk kind of drives, which is fine. She's kind of like a Deadpool type of character in some ways. But he did fight and the editing was pretty good. They still had pretty good choreography. Wasn't on the same level as the stuff we saw before, but it was still pretty decent. I mean, I enjoyed what was on the screen. But what was interesting, I mean, that's cool, but it's just a She-Hulk thing, right? It's a 30-minute episode. They kind of messed around a little bit, like flirted with each other and all this kind of stuff. But what we learned from Comic-Con, I guess, or whatever it was, that they've greenlit the Daredevil series, which we kind of also knew was coming at this point. And they've given it Vincent D'Onofrio, we know for sure, because it's in the teaser. And Foggy's in the teaser. And I think Deborah Ann Wall is in the teaser. I can't quite remember that, though. She may or may not be. But those two definitely are, as is Charlie Cox as Daredevil. But what's I found interesting, and I was talking to Donnie last night when we were texting each other, because we do that all the time. No, we don't, but we were just talking about this. This is Disney Plus, and they greenlit this, and they said it's the first season is 18 episodes long.
Hell yeah.
It is weird because that's longer than the Netflix ones. Those were 13, I think, 12 or 13.
Yeah, 13.
And this is 18. And I almost feel like they made a mistake, and they're saying like, well, we signed them for 3 seasons and each one's 6 episodes. And then I'd be like, okay, that makes sense because it's Disney, and each season of all these other shows tends to be 6 episodes. Although I think She-Hulk is more than that. And Andor, which is not Marvel, but a series on Disney Plus as well, is 12 episodes, I think. So, but why 18? Like, what's that about? That's unusual. That's almost broadcast TV numbers there. I think they're more like 22, 23 or something on broadcast TV normally, but pretty close. And the only thing I can think of is it's a little more expensive. Right? You're going to pay more for Vincent D'Onofrio for sure. Charlie Cox isn't commanding that much money, but he's been playing Daredevil long enough that he probably wants a decent salary. He's not a new person like the girl playing She-Hulk, right? So he's probably something there. Then you got to get Foggy and probably Deborah Ann Wall, whatever her name is, and maybe some of the other characters coming back from the TV show. Although they're saying this is a new beginning. It's a new season 1, so to speak. Although Disney's billing it as a mini series, which also is weird because as a mini series, it's 18 episodes long. Like, that's weird. So, I'm stumped about the length of it here, just because now some people online said it's going to follow the Mayor Fisk storyline, which I'm not that familiar with, but okay, whatever. Guess Kingpin becomes the mayor, hunts
It's
down
born
Daredevil.
again.
But other people were saying that he's probably going to be forming the Defenders. That explains the She-Hulk cameo. Echo is supposed to be in it. And of course, Donnie did find a potential spoiler list of actors that are in it. I don't think it's legit myself, but it could be. It did show a lot of the actors from the show, although some of them, like Elektra, I mean, unless she's a ghost, I mean, I can't imagine how she's going to be in this. And same with Bullseye, right? Yeah, maybe. But but then it said it was directed by the Duffer Brothers, and that was where I first saw that, and I was like, "There's no way! There's no way!"
That's where Kevin's out. He's like, "Yeah, never mind."
Can't be the Stranger Thing directors are going to go to Disney Plus and do Daredevil, and plus they wouldn't like most of these shows. You never know because it's a miniseries, but most of these shows they all tend to have separate directors per episode. I mean, it's just normal. That's just the way things are. You know, you get it produced by, if it said produced by the Duffer Brothers, maybe. Doubt it, but maybe.
That's what Kevin Feige.
But when it says directed by, it's like, come on. 18 episodes? Those guys got better things to do.
Well, and another thing that's funny about the 18 episodes is most of these shows that are coming out are only 6 episodes. Like
right.
She-Hulk episodes. And the last one, whatever the last show was, it was 6 episodes, I think, or whatever.
Yeah, Moon Knight.
Moon Knight. I think that was 6, wasn't it?
Yeah.
It seemed to be 6 or 9.
So it's like, I don't think it was 9. I think it was 6.
Yeah, it's probably. I think it is. I think they're all 6. So it's like if you're doing 18, that's like 3 seasons, according to you know what I mean.
Right.
Just it's like you're putting a lot of stuff in here, and it's
and you got to hold people's attention. Right. Because like you said before about the 13 on Netflix, there were some episodes that were like, did you really need to watch that episode? You know, like we talked about this before. We think like the sweet spot might be like around 9 or 10 episodes to keep people engaged, like tell the whole story. 6 is too small. Maybe 13 is too much. It of course depends on the story and the writing though. You know, but hey, I'm all for it. More Daredevil, the better. I mean, I think that's one of the best shows they've done. So if they keep up the quality of it, cool. You know, bring it on.
Like with this, the She-Hulk show, it's not a normal, like Daredevil. That's a normal Marvel show kind of thing, right? Where it's like he's going after somebody specific. There's like there's a storyline that's going through this, that's arcing throughout the whole thing with little things going on here or there. And the She-Hulk show is more like a regular weekly TV show that you would watch because it's like a law show. It's basically like she comes into the office and they go, this guy got beat up by a superhero by accident and now they're going to sue. You know what I mean? So you could do more than 6 episodes with it because it's just mindless stuff. You know what I mean? This guy was tricked by this elf and now we got to sue them or this, So
I mean, maybe
it depends on what kind of show you're, like you said, it's right. It depends on kind of show.
Maybe like what Disney was doing here is, so some of the ones like WandaVision, Winter Soldier, and Falcon, and Hawkeye, Loki, right? You're taking basically motion picture actors, and you're not going to get them to do a 13 or a 22 episode season. You know what I mean? Like they're busy and they're expensive. But, you can sit there and say, well, would you want to do television for 6 episodes? Maybe we only use you in 4 or 5, we have some spin-off stuff. And they're like, okay. And so they get those people. And so I can kind of understand that a little bit. Like I could say, oh, okay, that's cool. But then you get into these, well, certainly She-Hulk. But, I'm trying to think of some other examples. I mean, Moon Knight, those are also Hollywood actors.
No, he's a Hollywood actor.
But anyway, but the thing is that like when you're not dealing with as much Hollywood, let's say as much Hollywood, maybe you can get longer contracts. I think D'Onofrio likes playing Kingpin. I think we've determined that because he obviously was a fan of the comic. He knows what he's doing. He plays him perfectly. I mean, I couldn't ask for a better freaking Kingpin. Yeah. He's not trying to change him up, make him his own or whatever, like some actors do. Like he's being that character. And I think he really likes it. And, I think he's just perfect. I think he's just perfect at it. And Charlie Cox, he really likes playing Daredevil. He seems to have a lot of fun with it, basically. And I think, maybe they're both just into it enough that they're like, yeah, let's do a long series on it. Cool. I guess the question I'm going to have is I'm pretty sure, and most people are pretty sure too, that Jessica Jones is coming back as well. So if true, we'll see if she also gets an 18 episode arc. If she does, then maybe this is going to become the new norm on Disney. You know what I mean? It seems like maybe Disney is also doing it to sort of pad their content because they have too many gaps. You know what I mean? Like they have a show historically, a show, then like a month break, then a show, then like a month break. And it's like, if you're paying money for it, it's kind of like, it's not a whole lot. Yeah, you get the new Marvel movie on, but if Disney Plus didn't exist, you'd be watching that on Netflix for sure, right? So it's kind of like Disney just doesn't have enough draw to bring in viewers, and I'm sure they want to charge more than $5 or whatever it is to pay for Disney, so they need more content to do it. And it's funny because they're like one of the biggest media companies there is, Right. But in terms of like original programming that's going into this thing, it's pretty sparse. Now, Andor, they've made like 13 episodes. She-Hulk is longer. Now we're talking about 18 episodes with Daredevil. It seems to me that they're approaching this a little bit differently now. They're like, let's have more shows, more viewers, longer eyes on the screen and everything. Yeah. And that might work. I mean, that might be good. We'll have to see if 18 episodes can hold our attention, but if it works for broadcast TV, yeah, I mean, why not? I think so. It's also a different thing because they release the episodes once a week, unlike Netflix and some other things, maybe Hulu and stuff that drop it all at once. You know what I mean? Because if you dropped a show with 18 episodes all at once, binge watching, that would be a little bit harder to do. People wouldn't be killing it in a weekend and stuff like that. But if you're spacing it out over 18 weeks, it can kind of make sense. So we'll see. What do you think, man? I talked to you about this yesterday. Luke Cage and Iron Fist. Do you think they're going to bring them back?
Luke Cage. I mean, I can't answer these questions. Marvel's just so screwy. Just because it's like Power Man and Iron Fist, Luke Cage and Iron Fist. They're a team. They're just they're a combo. They you know what I mean? In the 70s, they had their own comic book, and that was the thing. It was Power Man and Iron Fist. It's like it just goes together, and you can't do that with these two because nobody likes the dude doing Iron Fist because he's like a wet rag. He's just like, hey, I'm Iron Fist. I'm just not that exciting. I'm just not that interesting because Shaolin, woohoo, and it's just. So it's like you can bring Luke Cage back. Everybody loved Luke Cage. It just makes you wonder. I don't know.
But look, no one's going to say you're right or wrong. I ain't going to hold you your feet to the fire. I'm just thinking. Feeling like you could bring Luke Cage back. I'm not a fan of the actor, but the rest of it, as we talked about before, the atmosphere that they had set up there in Harlem was excellent. And I thought that the actors that they did use around him were really good, and some of the story writing was pretty good. Some of it wasn't, but some of it was pretty good. If they just tighten it up, and I don't know, man, worked on that guy's emotional range, I would be a little bit more into it. I think I also think that you could save Iron Fist. They just came about that in the wrong way. I mean, they made him a spoiled, bratty, angry kid dude, and they had that evil corporation thing that's been done to death, and and his power is also just kind of lame. I mean, it's like it's cool in the comic books and everything, but it's like on TV, it's just like he can punch something really hard, and they took forever to do something with it. And so then it just, people, I think, kind of lost interest in it. Where like, if you go to Daredevil, I mean, I think it's pretty much the first episode, he's just kicking guys' asses like really well, in in the street or in an alley or whatever. And you're just like, you're like, well, this is great, and where Iron Fist just didn't really open that way. It just opened with him coming home and finding that his inheritance had been given away or something. It just
Iron Fist.
Go ahead.
Iron Fist is the kid who got, he was the rich kid, and then he disappeared to a monastery or whatever.
Yeah.
And like became a monk, and then came back to society where he's, you know what I mean? Where he's
right. But now you have Wong, right? Who's in everything at this point. So
yeah, but
you could. What's that?
Wong is more modern.
Well, no, Iron. I know. What I'm saying is if you had Iron Fist, you could have Wong play off of him, right? Because they're both kind of in that escape. Same with Doctor Strange. If you could bring in Cumberbatch, you could get him to play off of him as well. And there's enough side characters there at this point that I think you could make it work. It's just that I just think that one was just lost. And I think if you just tighten it up, probably could make a decent storyline out of it. But I don't know. Maybe not. Maybe I like your idea though. Team them up. Put them both together. I mean, they're not that expensive. Put them both on a show, and then make them play off of each other, and that might be good too. The indestructible guy and the guy that can punch stuff really hard. I don't know.
I mean, it would give Iron Fist more, I don't know, personality.
Right.
It would give him a character, I think.
Yeah, because on his show, he just has that girlfriend, who's cool and everything, but she has no powers. You know what I mean? She again knows some karate.
What's her face?
And you also have to have good villains. I mean, who was the villain in freaking Iron Fist? I don't even remember.
Well, it was the okay. So his two buddies, the guy and the girl who were running the company.
Yeah.
It was their dad, but everybody thought the dad was dead. And the dad was secretly living in a penthouse somewhere.
Yeah.
Still running everything through the son.
Right. Yeah.
And then the son got addicted to drugs or whatever. I don't know. It was
right. I mean, but like superheroes should have like a superhero type of enemy type of thing, or at least not the old man who reveals that he's like, I don't know. I mean,
I've been hiding up here for years, control the city.
Ben Kingsley's the Mandarin. What are you going to do? I mean, Marvel makes some decisions sometimes.
You want to get
okay? So, in closing, let's talk about your friend Clint.
Oh boy, this guy again. So just as fast as I tell stories about this guy, he's out there rumbling with everybody else all of a sudden. So there's a restaurant in downtown Cleveland. They got locations around in different cities and stuff, Westlake and stuff. But there's this restaurant downtown called Luca. I'm pretty sure it's just Luca. There might be another part.
My name is Luca. I live on the second floor.
And it's on the second floor.
Oh, wow.
No, I don't know if it isn't. That'd be cool. That'd be a good promotional tool. You know what I mean? He'd be like, come to Luca. We live on the second floor. We live upstairs from you. Maybe you've seen us before.
There you go. Copyright infringement all day.
Yeah, they would totally get it. He's got to spell the words differently. Yeah, so I guess he went to Luca with 9 of his closest friends. I don't know, or his wife's friends or something like that. There was 10 of them all together. And so Luca's one of those places that doesn't open until 4:00 in the afternoon. So it's like the expensive, like higher up kind of restaurant, because they're like breakfast and lunch. We don't need that. We just do dinner. And basically there's a bar with like 12 seats, and it's first come, first serve. Whoever gets there first can sit at the bar, and you're at the bar. You can eat at the bar. You can do everything at the bar. You can have me at the bar. And so that's what they were saying. They're like, you got to get there like 45 minutes to a half hour early before they open so that you even have a chance to get to the bar. Oh, excuse me. So I guess Clint and his wife and all their friends and stuff they got there early. They waited in line. You wait outside. They get in and they all take their 10 seats. Boom, 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 right down the bar. Right? They're like, we're 10 people and we're all sitting at the bar, which seems kind of selfish because it's like, why don't you sit at a table so that you can all talk together? But whatever. Hey, that's not my party. So a guy comes in. I guess this guy comes in by himself and sits at the bar, leaving one empty seat. And then a little bit later, some dude comes in with his girlfriend and they both go, oh, we wanted to sit at the bar, but there's only one seat. We can't sit at the bar. So the new guy that came in looks at the guy who was sitting by himself and says, hey, man, if you're just sitting by yourself, can't you just like go sit somewhere else and let me and my girlfriend sit here because we wanted to sit at the bar together? And the guy says, sorry, man. You know, I waited in line. I got here early. I wanted to sit at the bar, and I'm sitting at the bar.
Yeah.
Sorry about your luck, basically.
Right. Yeah, he got there first.
Yeah, and so I guess this new guy, started making a scene and being like, well, what the heck? That's not cool, man. That's not cool. Like, you're sitting all by yourself and you're just, you're the only one here. You can go sit somewhere by yourself, somewhere else. And it's like, there's two of us and we really wanted to sit at the bar. It's like, come on, man. Why don't you let us sit here? Just sit here. Let us sit here. And the guy's like, no, I don't want to. I don't want to. So at the bar is this guy, the 11th seat guy, we'll call him, number 11. And then there's Clint's friend, and then there's Clint. And I guess Clint's just looking over at this other guy, the new guy that's coming in and yelling all these orders and stuff.
And see what's going on.
Clint's friend, the guy in seat number 10, looks at Clint sitting at seat number 9, giving you a little description, maybe help you out, keep a track. Number 10 looks at Clint at number 9 and says, you want to switch seats with me, don't you? And Clint looks at him and goes, yes, I do. And so they switch seats. And I guess he let the new guy start, he let him complain a little bit more to number 11 over there. And eventually, I guess Clint leaned over and said, excuse me, why don't you stop bullying this guy and go sit somewhere else? Like, leave him alone. He stood in line and he waited patiently. He got here early, like, a smart person would do, because you're supposed to come here early to get in line. And he got the seat. So just leave him alone. And why don't you go sit somewhere else? And I guess this guy was like, it's none of your business. Start yelling the usual. It's none of your business. Go turn around. Mind your own business. Don't let, this has nothing to do with you. And Clint's like, well, obviously you don't know who I am. Everything has to do with me because I'm the protector of, children and people who can't defend themselves.
And dogs. Yeah.
And dogs. Yeah. The suffering dogs. But, so I guess the girlfriend, she says to the guy, I can't remember his name. It's like Chad or something like that. She's like, come on, Chad, let's go. And I guess Clint looks over and goes, yeah, Chad, why don't you just leave? Why don't you just go away, Chad? And so, he's just poking the bear because Clint I don't know what it is, dude. Dude's over 50 and he wants to fight people. He has more fights than Floyd Mayweather. It's messed up. So the guy's like, so that ticks the guy off, and he gets, oh, you don't talk to me. You don't know me. You can't call me by my name. You don't know who I am. And Clint goes, listen, I'll tell you what, I know who I am, and I'll go outside. Let's go outside right now, and we'll take care of this, and I'm going to beat your ass. And it was just, hey, listen, it's typical Clint, right? Like, hey, he goes out for a night of fun with his wife and friends and stuff. And he's not thinking about, like, I think I'll buy the first round for everybody, or, hey, I think, we'll get drunk, or we're going to go do this. He's thinking like, all right, who's going to mess with me? Who's messing with who first? So, but yeah, so after last week telling 3 stories of him getting into fight, I don't have many details in this one because it's just like, he was just telling it to me, and I was just shaking my head the whole time.
Clint historically, he's in decent shape, but like, he's not a big dude. Like, no. I wouldn't think he would be getting into these scraps because, I mean, he's not that big, but
no.
He's crazy.
You don't have. You don't have to be big to fight people. And
I know, but it helps.
yeah, that's true. It's just needless to say, they didn't get into. There was no fisticuffs. The guy's girlfriend pulled him away and was like, "Come on, let's just go, Chad," or whatever.
I forget who I was interviewing during my book tour thing, and asking my lunch tour, was telling me about some of the jocks that used to hang out at the mall, and they used to hang out outside the food court and pick fights. Yeah. And so just like some dude would be walking in with his girlfriend or something, and somebody would probably size them up and they'd just be like, "Nice hat, asshole," or something like that. You know what I mean? Purposely right. Trying to get into a fight because they kind of got off on it. Like they kind of, liked the feeling of basically breaking somebody, just pounding them down, being able to take somebody in a fight and winning and everything. And this used to be a thing that the jocks would do. Now, listen, I worked at the mall. I used to go to the food court all the time. They never fuck with me. You know what I mean? Like maybe they just were like, I ain't gonna mess with Baird or anything like that. But I don't think they really mess with too many people, that we knew, but I did know that these kinds of things happen. Kids would come into school with some bruises on their knuckles and shit like that. You know what I mean? Or they'd be messed up. Some kids have black eyes and you'd be like, what the fuck happened? Oh, I got into a fight, at the mall and stuff. Oh, I forget. It wasn't Bailey who told me about this, but yeah, I think it was somebody that used to do it too.
It makes sense.
Yeah, but there's just some people like that just get adrenaline rush. They like to scrap like that. Maybe Clint's become one of those people. Maybe he gets kind of off on fighting.
I don't know. Superiority complex.
He does like to speak his mind though, so maybe it's also just that.
Plus, he's one of those guys that's always right. You can't mind about stuff. So
funny dude. I'm amazed he didn't ever get into a fight with Adam. Adam's like, stubborn.
Now, see, here's the thing: is Clint, like when it comes to fighting people, Clint will defend somebody, right? If somebody's being mistreated by somebody,
sure,
he'll go ahead and step, even if they didn't ask for it or that they don't want it or they don't know what's going. You know what I mean? Some kids don't know what's going on. It's just their parents yelling at them. But then here comes some dude out of nowhere at the gas pump who's just like, "You want to talk to me like that? Come here," It's just like, I don't think it has the same effect that he thinks it's going to have, but he wants I forgot where I was going with it. Darn it! He's just got this, like, he wants
he was going to fight Adam. I was saying, and then you were kind of
right. He has a line. He knows the line between somebody who's being a jerk and like he knows Adam's dumb, and you could yell about it, you could fight about it, you could argue about it, but he knows in his head already. He goes, "I could beat this dude's ass." He knows he could beat Adam. He's right. Like, Adam's not a fighter, really. I mean, what? The guy could play the hell out of a drum, but that's about it.
Right.
Cobble your shoes if you want. I'm not sure, but Clint knows the difference. You know what I mean? He's like, because he's been in that spot where he's like, "Dude, you don't understand. I was going to punch this dude in the face, and all I could do was look at him and be like, it's Adam. It's not even fair. It's not even."
Yeah, I get it.
So it's like so if it's a stranger,
right?
He's like, "I'm going to give you the chance to walk away." And if they don't walk away, then he's like, "All right, let's do this." Like, we're going to fight.
This is some shit you do like 20, 25 years ago. You don't do it now, man. Just like you were saying, he's too old to be doing this shit. It's fucking stupid.
Well, the weird thing is when we lived in Oakwood, remember where we used to have Sunday game night? He would have, I would wake up in the morning and he would be like, "Yeah, I got into a fight last night." And I'd be like, "What?" Like, I was here. And then I went to bed and I woke up and then what? And he's like, "Yeah, after you went to bed, I got into a fight with somebody." It was just like, what? He like fought the people upstairs, he said, because they used to make a lot of noise. And he's like, "I was fighting the guy upstairs in the hallway." Like,
I kind of remember that story. Yeah.
Right. Remember?
It's like pulling him down the stairs or something. I can't remember something like that. Yeah.
He goes into detail about it. He's like, so the guy grabs and then he punches and then I do this and I duck this and he does this and I'm like you remember this really vividly. You know what I mean? Like if I got into a fight with somebody, my adrenaline would be so pumped and I'd be so rah, like just mine would be flying around. I wouldn't remember what happened. You know what I mean? I'd be like, I got into a fight with the dude. I think I punched him in the face a couple times. I think I got punched in the face a couple times. I'm not sure what the order is, but yeah, we punched each other a bunch of times. It got broke up. You know what I mean? It's like,
but that's the thing about Clint when he's telling a story. You don't even know if it's true. I mean, it's probably maybe, I don't know, or maybe somebody else told him the story and he's telling it like it's his story. Yeah. Like I can't. That's the problem with him. Like I can't tell if these things he's saying are true or not.
And I caught him using my stories, so that's the other thing where it's just like,
right?
Like I don't know, telling the truth. This might be somebody else's story. But like, who else would do it? And it's like, dude, you used my stories in front of me with other people.
Right. So it all could be bullshit too, but it's
entertaining to hear though.
Yeah.
Like this guy's running around. There's like professional boxers out in the world who can't make a penny, but this guy's running around fighting somebody every week. The guy's like 50-0.
Well, it's also like you said, like about him, like seeing like the headlights coming down the road or whatever. He's just, he's got some antics that, even if these things aren't true or whatever, he's still doing some things that are very peculiar. Right. So, yeah, it's entertaining.
He's like an old man in that aspect where he's like, who's this coming down my driveway? Or who's this coming down the street? It's like, well, it's a city. People can do all kinds of things they need to, but
fucking guy.
It's strange. He's working for Amazon now.
The warehouse or
driving?
Really?
Yeah. He had to get a job and he was like, well, I'm going to get a job where I work by myself and I don't have to deal with anybody.
I mean, I can see him doing that job. I mean, I hope I don't see him come to my door. No, I'm kidding. I mean,
how many fights can he get into? That's the question.
If he does, yeah. How long will he keep it before he gets fired for? He'll be on camera fighting somebody, or just arguing over breaking something or something.
I put your package at the door, you asshole. Listen, you want to fight about it?
Listen, I came here. Your dog was sick. He was limping. And nobody cared. Nobody was around. I was worried the kids were there. They might run into the street.
Yeah.
I had to put the dog down. He's behind the wood pile.
under the kiddie pool. Next to your package.
Oh, no. Oh my God. People don't even know what they're in for. I look forward to seeing him on the news.
Yeah, it's going to be great.
All right, everybody. That's it for the show. We'll be back next week with another one. We're not going to do a show on Halloween. That's going to be a Monday this year. We're going to take that day off to regroup. Also, with the holidays coming up, expect to have some breaks in the show here or there. I tend to be around. Donnie tends to be around. We're not big world travelers, etc. But we might lose a show in November or December, depending on how things go here or there. So bear with us if that happens. It's just normal. We have lives too. But otherwise, we'll do the shows. And eventually Donnie will give us some new tumbling tales. And we'll have those as well to help pad things out if we miss a show or skip a show. But yep, that's it. Thanks for listening. Thanks all our Patreon people for supporting us. If you're interested and you like this show, we do a full show every week, or we try to, and it's every other week on the normal RSS feed. But if you become a Patreon member, which is $2 a month, you get the extra shows, which are full shows. And that way you get a show basically every week. And so it really helps us out because we do pay for audio processing, hosting on Acast, monthly charges, and some domain things, etc. So it all gets thrown back into the show, which is terrific. So thanks, everybody. Thanks for supporting it. And we'll be back next week with more.
Woo! Peace.
You've been listening to Oblast with Don and Kevin. If you'd like to write into the show, send an email to oblast@vgntv.com. VGN.us. That is VGN as in video game news. And be sure to check out our Patreon page, which is at patreon.com/VGN, where you can get all of our shows, our videos, and some musings. Be sure to tune in each week for new episodes on our Patreon page or every other week on the public RSS feed that you're subscribed to now. Thanks for listening, and good night.
Peace.